Hi, my name is Delilah and today I am reviewing Nick and Norah's Infinite Playlist by Rachel Kahn and David Levithan. It's pretty short and I needed something short to help me drag myself through beautiful creatures. I have seen the movie. I actually saw the movie a long time before I decided to read the book. And I love the movie, and so it's probably going to be near impossible to not compare the book and the movie, but we're gonna try. So Nick and Norah's Infinite Playlist is about two young people. I think they're both like turning 18 or they're already 18, and it's about one night and how they kind of experience one night together. They're more or less, one is heartbroken. Well, they're both kind of heartbroken, and they meet each other on a whim and all kinds of crazy things follow. I really like this book. I do. It's very different from what I'm used to. And I say that, I've been saying that a lot lately, so I think that's kind of a good thing. But stylistically, it's very different. It's more of a stream of consciousness kind of writing. And I don't think I've ever read anything quite like that before. I like how this story takes place in the course of one night, because it's one of those kind of one-shot stories where you've only got a certain amount of time to get the story told before everybody has to go home and go about their lives. And it kind of ups the ante on suspense quite a bit. Like, you're constantly wanting to know how it's going to end, so you just keep chugging through it. And it's very short, so before you know it, you'll be done with it like that. I like how each character is very distinct. I mean, I'll talk a little bit more, it's kind of like in between good and bad. This story is told in the two shifting perspectives, Nick's point of view and Nora's point of view, both first person, I think both present tense. And normally I'm very, very tough on stories that go back and forth between two characters, because like I've said in quite a few reviews, I'd say for the Legend series and for Across the Universe, when you have these two different point of views together, you have to have two distinctly different characters so that you don't mix them up. And did that do what I thought it should do? No, but for once it kind of worked, and I'll explain that just a little bit. Up until a certain point, the two characters, Nick and Norah, are very, very different. I never had trouble deciphering who was telling what side of the story. And then a certain point in the story happens and they kind of start to mesh together, and that's when I started to wait, who's telling the story? Flip back, flip back, flip back. Oh, it's Norah. Okay. And usually that would really bother me. Really, really bother me. But it didn't here. And there's a reason why. It has to do with the style, and it has to do with kind of the coming together of these two people. It kind of becomes more like their different perspectives they just kind of weave together. And like I said, that usually would bother me with another story, but with this one it didn't, because I kind of understood symbolically what it meant. I thought that was really well done. It proves that every story is its own story. Every story creates its own limits and its own rules. And as long as it lives by its own rules, I'm good with it. Yay! I didn't find too much that I didn't like about the story. The only things that I didn't really like were the things that kind of were different between the book and the movie, and I promised I wouldn't say anything about that, so I'm not. There were some stylistic things that didn't necessarily work for me personally. Now, I understand that, it's got its own style. And because it has its own style, I'm totally okay with that. Like, I wouldn't knock off pins for its style, because that's just how the book is. If you are a person who doesn't like cursing in your books, then this book's not really for you. There's a lot of F-bombs. a lot of F-bombs. It doesn't really bother me as long as it works, and I don't know if every single F-bomb worked. In fact, there were plenty of places where I was like, they don't really need that much. They don't really need that many F-bombs, but it's in there. Certain parts in the style, like the stream of conscious, I don't have that much experience with it, but sometimes it became a little daunting to me to read. Like I'd have to read a sentence over and over again just to kind of understand what Nick was saying. And sometimes he's like writing lyrics in his head, and he's just going through a song, and the song didn't really work for me, and I didn't really like it. But that's just me. Like I said, I don't think that's something that I can really fault the book on, because it is what it is. You know, these are the characters, and they are who they are. And I'm not trying to change them. It's not you, it's me. So, easily enough, I decided to give this book 3 pens for my enjoyment. It was really good. It wasn't the best, and like I said, I can't help myself from comparing it to the movie. And it's weird because after reading this, I can tell like that movie was severely miscast. In my humble opinion, that movie was severely miscast, and I think you know who I'm talking about if you've seen the movie and read the book. I just adore the movie. I adore the movie more than the book. Sorry. I'm sorry. But it's still a good book. It's still worth reading. It's very fun. It's so fun. I would suggest this to young people, anybody looking for something quick and easy to read, and anybody, oh, here's a good one, anybody getting over heartbreak. Yes, this is a book for you. This is a great book to read for that. And yeah, read this book. It's good. Read it. But I did knock off some stars, at least for the stylistic parts that just kind of threw me off a little bit. Like I said, I wouldn't throw off pins for that because that's the writing style. But the stars are where I enjoyed the story or didn't enjoy the story. So I took off 2 stars because of that. And for the pen rating, I gave it 3 pens. I thought that it was written very well. I mostly would love to point out to writers the atmosphere. This book is all about its atmosphere, that New York life, and basically being able to get it all down in just one night. And the characters were written pretty well in my opinion. And I don't really think there's any one thing that I would just pull out and say, study this. But there's definitely like sections that I would say these are really good, especially the sections involving once they leave the club scene for good. Those are some really good scenes, and I would suggest you read it if you are curious about writing contemporary young adult fiction. This is a good book for you to read. Also, if you are planning on writing something with somebody else, I think this is a valuable book to read because it flows really well together despite the 2 different authors working on it. And from reading the back, it seems that David Levithan was writing Nick's point of view the whole time, and Rachel Kahn was writing Norah's the whole time. And even though it's written by 2 different authors, I feel like they worked really well together. They made 2 completely different characters, and yet they still had to keep the entire streamline of events going, and they both did that very well. So that's it for my review of Nick and Norah's Infinite Playlist by Rachel Kahn and David Levithan. I hope that was helpful to you. If you liked that review, I hope that you like or comment. Let me know your thoughts. And if you have any other questions, go ahead and comment below and ask them. That's all I have for you today, and I hope that you'll stick around for next week's video. I think I'm going to be adding another episode of my writing journey. So stay tuned for that, and I'll see you next time. Have an awesome day. Bye!